It was your fathers. Long before man was created, there were the jinn. They like man had a choice, and many of them chose to be rebellious of Allah rather than worshipping him. Amongst the jinn that chose to worship Allah was one named Iblis. He was the most knowledgeable of them and worshipped Allah a great deal, but he had a secret in his heart hidden from all except Allah, who is all-knowing of what we conceal and what we reveal. But Allah left him for a time, and for his great devotion to Allah, he raised him up amongst the angels to worship Allah in the heavens. When the time came that Allah created Adam, he commanded the angels, with Iblis included, to prostrate to Adam, which they all did except for Iblis. He refused because he was proud. He saw himself as better than Adam, and he was a kafir, so Allah cursed him and banished him from Jannah. But Iblis blamed Adam for his downfall and said that he was better than Adam. He asked Allah to give him a long life, which he will use to prove that Adam and his progeny, whom Allah has honored above him, will also be disobedient and ungrateful to him, just as he was, and he vowed to mislead all the children of Adam from the path of Allah. This became his goal in his long life, and he became the shaitan. He started with Adam and his wife. When they were in Jannah, Allah gave them the freedom to go wherever they wished and eat whatever they liked, but not to come near a certain tree or else they will be wrongdoers, and he warned them that Shaitan is their enemy, so they should be cautious of him. Shaitan whispered to Adam, telling him that if he eats the fruit of the tree, he will be immortal like the angels and will have a great kingdom. Over time, Adam and Hawa began to think about the tree and what they will benefit from its fruit until it drove them to eat from the tree even though he had been prohibited. So they disobeyed Allah and were removed from Jannah. But that was just the beginning. After Adam died and his children had multiplied, they were a single tribe upon the Tine religion, worshipping Allah alone as Adam had taught them. They had amongst them righteous men who advised them concerning Allah and doing good. They were loved by their people, and when they died, their people missed them, and Shaitan saw an opportunity in this. He came to them and suggested to them that they erect statues of those righteous men in their places of worship, so that when they see them, they can remind them of Allah just like how they did when they were alive, and they obeyed. He then waited for some time and came to them and told them to make more statues which they will take to their home in order to remember Allah even more, which they did. He waited again until after the generation passed away and the people did not know the origin of the idols, so he returned to them and told them that their fathers were worshipping those idols, so they should worship them too, and they did, and that was the beginning of idol worship. Allah sent Nuh to his people. He called them to worship Allah alone and to leave the idols, because Allah is the only one worthy of worship. That Allah was the one who created them and provides for them, and that they will return to him, so they should seek his forgiveness and repent to him. He advised them to listen to him and obey him because he knew from Allah what they did not know. He told them that he was not asking them for any reward, that it is only a reminder and a warning, so they should listen and obey, before the punishment of Allah descends upon them for their crimes. And rather than listen and obey, they chose to deny Nuh, and called him a liar and a madman. They said he only sought to rule over them, and if Allah wanted such from them, he would have sent angels. They called him names and made a mockery of him. At times he would call them and they will put their hands behind their ears and flee from him. They increased in their worship of idols, and commanded their children to do the same, and they did all these despite Nuh reminding them of Allah's favors on them, and that he was willing to forgive them and increase them in what he had already given them of provisions and children. In the end, they disbelieved in Nuh and proved to be what Shaitan said about them, and they were drowned for their sins. So also, as man procreated and spread, Shaitan came again and again, calling them to disbelieve in Allah and leave doing good and do evil in its place, calling them to the attractions of the worldly life of wealth and status, deluding them with false desires. Many answered his call, leaving what Allah sent through his prophets and messengers, in hope that we will be ungrateful to Allah and join him in the hellfire, and many obeyed him, and were deceived by him. That is how idols came into existence and people worship them, including the people of Ibrahim. And follow not the footsteps of Shaitan, Satan. Verily, he is to you an open enemy. He commands you only what is evil and fasha, sinful, and that you should say against Allah what you know not. Shaitan, Satan, threatens you with poverty and orders you to commit fasha, evil deeds, illegal sexual intercourse, sins, etc., whereas Allah promises you forgiveness from himself and bounty, and Allah is all sufficient for his creatures' needs, all knower. But Satan wishes to lead them far astray. Had it not been for the grace and mercy of Allah upon you, you would have followed Satan, save a few of you. Now you might be thinking it's the fault of the Shaitan, if only he didn't come to the people of Nuh, if only he was never granted such a long life and never came to Adam. He is the one who calls people to disbelief and deceives them. Or maybe you think it's Adam, if only he didn't eat the fruit in the first place, then we would have all still have been in the peace and comfort of heaven. And that cannot be any further from the truth. In fact, it has almost nothing to do until Shaitan or even Adam. The proof of this as we continue, begins with the story of Ayub. All for Allah.